Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Taylor. If you don't know me, Dr. Taylor Burrows. And don't be surprised if you hear some chickens in my backyard. They do tend to visit in these videos. So I am a mental health and relationship expert. I have a PhD in marriage and family therapy, and I work, there they go, I work a lot with couples, singles around dating, relationships, marriage, all sorts of issues in regards to sexuality, and also just general mental health ideas and concepts so that we can really create our best selves. And one thing I like to talk about is how to create this ideal self as opposed to maybe who we are right now without making much effort or having much success. And so striving towards that ideal version of ourselves in order to establish an ideal life and find an ideal partner along the way. So that's kind of the overarching theme of what I talk about in general. And if you want to find me on social media, my handle is @TaylorBurrows. So I'll put all this stuff in the notes in the episode. So do check out the episode notes because I'll put all the links to my other platforms and how you can reach me and participate in discussions elsewhere. So getting on to today's topic, I want to talk today about the feminine source energy. I know that sounds kind of kooky probably, but there's lots of things that we could call it. But basically it's that light, that radiance that really characterizes the feminine charm and that feminine power and energy that is quite difficult to describe. It's an intangible presence when you're around it, but you know it's there. You always know it's there. And it's so impossible to ignore. It's something that everybody wants to be around because it just makes you feel good about you. It's also very hard to cultivate that if it doesn't come naturally to you, because it is a bit about, if we talk about nature and nurture, everyone's personality is somewhat ingrained, right? If we talk about the nature side of it, but it doesn't mean that that's the end of it. Like, we have the ability and the control to cultivate the things that we want for ourselves. So this week on my newsletter, I talked about the ideal self and how to create that ideal self that you want to be described as, that you want to become, as opposed to the real self, which is who you are now without any intervention or effort. So specifically, in this video, I'm only going to be talking about females and that female energy. So in order for the females to become that ideal version of themselves, this needs to be something that you address. Femininity, everyone defines it differently, but there are certain stereotypes around it. And the reason why it's stereotypical is because everybody has masculine traits and feminine traits in themselves, whether they're male or female. But for a female who's heterosexual especially, you're going to want to bring out that feminine essence as much as possible when you're looking for a mate, when you have a mate, when you're married, when you've got kids. And even if you're not heterosexual, you're female, you still want to be connected to your feminine traits and characteristics. So you can decide to what level you're comfortable with. But let me just talk about it in a generalized sense. So that feminine energy, it's very bright, it's very vibrant, it's powerful, it's almost magical. And, everybody wants to be around it. You make everyone feel good about themselves. You lift the spirits of the energy and the people around you. And it's just something that people gravitate towards because it's good. It feels like it's good. It's almost exciting too, but not in a dangerous sort of sense. It's more just, it's a visceral feeling of, I would call it even love. So without it being a temptress energy, it's just this really comfortable, put at ease type of joy, right? And it's almost like you even look at her and you just want to smile. You just feel bright, like the shadows lifted from the space that you're in because this person brought with them light and vibrancy. So I know that's kind of like a very abstract description, but in order to get there, there are some specific tangible things that you can do if it doesn't come naturally to you. And I don't want you to assume that just because it's someone's temperament or someone's personality that it's easy or that it just came completely naturally. There's a lot of self-responsibility that goes into cultivating and maintaining that level of positive energy. So if you don't have it naturally, this is what you can do, and this is probably what those people are doing anyway so well that helps them exude that energy anyway. So first of all, and whatever age you are, if you're deciding, I want to be like that, I want people to want to be around me, I want to have that effect on people so that I'm attractive because I want to find a partner, or you just want to be someone that people like to be around, and you want to feel good, and it makes you feel good to have a lightness around you. And if you want to call it a happiness, who doesn't want to be happy, right? And I know that's kind of one of those kumbaya terms, but it's about self-regulation and emotional regulation and being able to stabilize your mood so that life is good and you don't have to complain and you don't have to worry. You don't have to get stuck in the negativity. It doesn't mean that there's never any negativity. You're a human being. You're supposed to fluctuate. So first of all, if it doesn't come naturally, let me make sure I get this point in, then you want to take stock and look inside, internally, into your emotions, into your mentality. And a lot of times that comes from a residue of the past. So perhaps you've had some experiences that were difficult and were hurtful, that you experienced pain, you experienced turmoil, challenges, adversity, maybe even trauma. So it could be back in childhood or any time between childhood and adulthood, adolescence. Maybe it's because of previous relationships that your heart's been broken, you've been abused, you've been in a controlling relationship, you've been conned, you've been played. Lots of different things that can happen in the process of relationships that can just destroy someone's self-esteem. Or even as early as childhood, you could have had adversity, different things with it could have been poverty, it could have been alcoholism in your parents, it could have been natural disasters, lots of grief and death, bereavement in your family, specific abuse, or anything in between. And so all of that could have affected you to the point where you're not connecting with that joy, that light energy, that positivity that then you can communicate out into the world. So you have to deal with that. And if that means going to see a professional like myself, then do, absolutely do. You don't want to just brush it under the rug and take it for granted that it's going to, be dealt with, because it doesn't work that way. And especially if you haven't done your own personal work, being able to write in a journal and examine your thoughts, being able to learn how to self-regulate by doing mindfulness activities, meditation, deep breathing. Exercise is so important, having a consistent discipline system so that you regulate your own body and your mind, because it is all connected, and creating healthy hobbies. So you can't just be contained in a healthy body and then contribute or participate in all these unhealthy behaviors, right? So you have to make sure that you're actually doing things that are healthy for you too. Now, again, we're all human, so you may have some vices. Some people smoke, some people drink, some people gamble, whatever the case may be, race cars or whatever. You can have vices, but make sure that your healthy activities far outweigh any kind of vices that you have, and moderate them. So participate in healthy, pro-social activities, and especially for women, you want to connect with that nurturing side. So if it's anything to do with nesting, cooking, homemaking, it could also be just general physical activities. It doesn't have to be feminine per se, right? Like you can actually do more maybe masculine activities like sports. You could do, some friends of mine were talking about like the extreme sports, kind of like archery and knife throwing and gun shooting and stuff like that. So even if they're masculine, that's okay, but they're done in a healthy way, then that's the same. They're wholesome activities for the most part. I don't know, some people will think that shooting guns is not a wholesome activity, but generally speaking, if it's at a gun range, it's not dangerous, it's not violent, it's legal. So, hold on to your opinions. You can comment down below. And I mean, there are just so many different things you could do. You could do gardening, you could do horseback riding if you wanted to, having animals, volunteering, having some kind of creative outlet, whether that's arts and crafts or any kind of artisan skills, sewing. It could be literal art, like doing something tangible, tactile with your hands, ceramics, painting, sculpting, glass blowing. I did some of that in college too. And all of that is really, really good for the soul. It could just be writing, creative writing, and lots of reading. Music, you could play an instrument. All these types of skills that are healthy and pro-social are really, really important. Having any kind of mentorship relationship with younger people, or even just people that are less fortunate than you or not in as good of a healthy mind frame as you are, that can be good as well. Participating in church or other community activities, and also just spending time with your family, like that is emphasized in our society these days. And being able to put aside the TV and the phone and the iPad and all of that stuff, all the screens, and really just be present with each other is so important. And finding that contentment in the simplicity of life. That's that wholesomeness that is important, an important aspect of being a healthy individual, but especially to be a stable and healthy woman that is going to be that nurturer for people. Now, you also are going to have that very sort of excitable, almost childlike part of you too. So you want to keep that playfulness alive. And so literally, like, you can, play wholesome games, do fun things, experiment with things that are all safe and within your value system. But making sure that you are taking care of yourself in that way by engaging in all of those activities and creating a structure in your life so that you are safe and you're stable and you're secure. And whether it's school as well, you can be homeschooled, you can take your own self-study online, you can go to classes, but making sure that you are not doing things because you feel pressured to do them, or you feel like you have to keep up with the Joneses, or you have to compete with people. Competition is not a feminine trait, and though a lot of women do compete with each other. So recognizing that it's important to be able to take care of yourself. So definitely get that job, pay the bills, save the money, invest your money, buy that property. All of that stuff is good, but you don't want it to be something that disconnects you from your emotional side of yourself, because that vulnerability is what is going to connect you to the right partner. And it's also going to attract, right? The more that you are able to bring that feminine energy into a relationship, the more that man is going to connect with you, because he's bringing that structure and that provision and that, that it's a different type of strength that women have, but he's going to have that security that's going to wrap around you. And I mean, even just outside of your actual long-term relationship, having that energy with other people so that you can be positive influences in their life, it's going to be beneficial to you. So the more that you step into that, the more that you work through all of that past trauma, adversity, maybe heartbreak, and any kind of negative experiences in your life, you're taking responsibility and doing what you can to bring that light out to shine so that you can enjoy your life and be content, and then other people will also really appreciate you, and you will be of benefit and of service to them, because ultimately we all have a purpose. A man's purpose and his mission is far more directive and outward and external, whereas that woman's purpose can be more subtle and just as valuable, if not more, right? I mean, and just having that hearth feeling of comfort and softness, gentleness, grace, really just like that flowing energy that seems so at ease and natural is what we all need in addition to that structure and security. So I feel like these energies go together. So we can't ever talk about them separately completely. But as a woman and as someone who values that energy and bringing that vibrancy into my daily life, not just into a relationship, but bringing it into my experience on a day in and day out basis so that I'm happy and content and I feel like I can take care of myself and meet my own needs as much as I have to while I'm single. But then being able to provide that for other people. But first I have to attract that for myself, right? In order to find that partner that will help complete that, oh gosh, and I said the cliche, but you know what I mean. It's a complementary energy. And even though I have my own masculine energy inside of me, I need to have that in regards to my partner and my relationship for the rest of my life when I find him. So hopefully that has brought it out into a little bit more of a specific way that you can try to cultivate that yourself if you haven't already. But I would just remember self-regulation, emotional regulation, process your past emotional baggage of relationships and any type of trauma or adversity from your early childhood experiences is going to be really, really important. Those would be the three main pillars of being able to clear the cobwebs and the barriers from being restricted to bring that light out into the open and share that with all the beautiful people around you that would love to experience that from you and for yourself. So I hope this was helpful for you today, and if you want to just click that subscribe button, you can get all the notifications of any of my upcoming videos, and let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer them. Ciao!